Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about strings. We're going to be building on those core foundations, so some of this might be a review, but we're going to be talking about initiating strings and variables, which we know how to do. We're going to talk about multi-line strings. We're going to talk about formatting the strings. We're going to do sub-expressions, calling methods with those strings. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hit that shell. We're going to validate our key bindings, make sure everything's good. So we're going to go ahead and highlight our line and hit that F8. Let's hit the shell and string some stuff together. That's what I'm talking about. So the first thing we're going to do is define our strings, right? We should know how to do this by now, but if you're just tuning in, go ahead and go on those previous videos and jump into that shell. But we'll go ahead and initiate these strings. So go ahead and run our F8. So we define string 1 and string 2. Obviously we had the right host and we can see the output of those. String 1 PowerShell, string 2 rocks. And we're going to head and concatenate those. So this is going to be using these plus sign operators. And we're going to take string 1 plus, and then we're doing quote space quote. So that's doing a space between these two variables. And then string 2. And we're taking this text. We can go ahead and run this and see what that looks like. We're taking this output and we're going to store it into the combined variable. So now we don't have to keep doing this concatenation over and over in our code. We can just run the combined variable. And there we go, concatenation. PowerShell rocks. So and this backtick in is again new line character, so that's why we have that new line there, kind of re-showing that from a previous video. The next item is actually just defining that string and then putting it into your right host or your right output. So we'll go ahead and captain shell, and then again the new line character, and then this is going to say hello $name, which is captain shell, welcome aboard. So we'll go ahead and run that. Notice the double quotes allows for this interpolation. So you have to have double quotes. If you had a single quote here, we'll go ahead and do that real fast. You'll notice that the variable is no longer highlighted, right? So it doesn't know that's a variable. So that's the big point around the double quotes. Notice it just uses the $name as the keyword. So go ahead and undo that. So just keep that in mind. To do this, you have to use double quotes. A multi-line variable, also known as a here string. So a here string, you'll see these at quote and then quote at. It's a multi-line. A lot of people use here strings when they're doing like HTML within their PowerShell code, or even if they're building JSON, they'll use here strings. That's a cool technique you can do. You can also, with JSON, you can use hash tables, which I can show that later on as well. But here's our multi-line string, so we'll go ahead and run this. Go ahead and hit F8. And then if we actually print this variable out to the screen, you can see it's the same multi-line string. And then here we'll do a new line, multi-line string colon, and then our multi-line string. So that's how you do a multi-line string, or keep in mind it's called a here string when you see the at in quotes. Very useful again with JSON and HTML, or embedding any kind of messages in your code, especially if you're doing like emails and stuff like that. The next thing here we have is string methods. So here we'll be using sub-expressions to call these methods, which you'll see down here at the $parentheses, which we learned in previous videos. We're going to do text equals, and we're going to have a bunch of spaces around this. And the reason for this is sometimes when people give you data within CSV files or type in data, you always got to clean that data up. And these are methods to do that. So this is going to be the original string, and we can see the spaces, right? And we got the quotes in there because that's in our text. And then this right here is going to trim. This is going to trim both front and back of that string. So notice there's no spaces in the front or back now. So that's basically, we're doing a sub-expression, and then we're going to be able to call the method trim on the variable text because it's a string object. Next method you can do is ToUpper. Again, to learn these methods, you can pipe it to getMember, which again we learned in previous videos. So this one here will obviously turn that text into uppercase, and there we go. And then we can do lowercase. Same thing. And again, upper and lower is good for when you're comparing data and stuff like that. And then you can also replace. So replace method is you pick the word you want to replace, and then you pick what you want to replace it with. So it's going to replace the word fun with awesome. And there we go. PowerShell is awesome. So, and you can also put a method on a method. So if I wanted to do this, I'm doing this on the fly, so hopefully, there we go, ToUpper. And then if we run that again, there we go. So you can chain the methods if you want. So there's that. And then substring and length. So substring will grab specific characters starting in the length. So if we look at this here, first 5 characters. So it's going to grab the first 5 characters of string 1. If I just print string 1 to the screen, we can see it's PowerShell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we run this, it just grabs power, right? So it starts with 0 and it goes to the first 5th character. So it just grabs the first half. Then you can also get the length of a string. That's how many characters it is total. So it's 10. So we could have said start with the 5th and grab the next 5, and that would have grabbed the last part of it. So that's a good technique to use when you're, again, manipulating strings and data and input and stuff like that. The last one is string formatter, so a -F. This comes in handy when you're doing like dynamic stuff. It's just another way to print to the screen. So everybody has their favorite way of doing this. This is pretty popular when you're writing classes and you're using return. This is a popular technique. So what we'll do is we'll define our variables. So we got name and then our favorite scripting language, which is PowerShell, obviously. But basically it's going to say my name is, and then script brace 0, script brace, and then and I love, and then script brace 1, script brace. So these are basically your indexes, and so whatever follows that, so you pass in a -F, and then you put your variables here. And so this is going to be your 0 placeholder, and this is going to be, the second one's going to be your 1. So if you were to replace these around, actually let me go ahead and do that right now. Let's show you this live. So we're going to change this. I'm going to change this to 1 and change this to 0. And you'll see that it'll flip those. So if we go ahead and run the first one, we'll see my name is Bob and I love PowerShell. And if we run the second one, we can see my name is PowerShell and I love Bob. PowerShell loves Bob, I guess. But so that's a good way to, again, format your data as well. It's a really good technique to use. So with that, get down to the best part of the video, those challenges, making us better with that PowerShell knowledge. So here is the challenge for today. Alright, so the challenge for today is to divide a string with the leading and trailing spaces, kind of like we did earlier. And then we want to trim it and we want to convert it to uppercase. So you should be a pro at that now because you know how to do that. Go ahead and replace a word in it. Try that out. And then output the final string, which you should be able to do that as well. You can also play with that last example that I made with the formatter and see what you can do with that as well, because that would be a good technique to learn as well. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time on PowerShell Nerd. Have a good one.